this is Christina Barton. You're watching Black T News. Hello. Welcome to Black T News. I'm your host, Christina Barton. Today we're going to be talking about how crime is so bad. in California and San Francisco, they're telling their federal employees to just work from home. Just work from home. And uh, the crime up there is just so outrageous. That's pretty next level. And the question is, are people going to just start voting appropriately and making some of these people who push these bad policies that are making it incredibly unsafe? Are they going to reward them for their bad policies? And there's been some places in the country where people have kind of gotten a clue with that stuff, but we'll see what happens in the next election. But the question is, are the Republicans going to really focus on the right sort of things? Hunter Biden stuff, Joe Biden stuff, like those things are important, but economy is really, really important, and crime is very important, and those are things that really local candidates can hammer on. If you have good candidates that are worth voting for, so hopefully we will get it together, and people will make the right decision. But you know what, elections have consequences. I want to show this video from a legislator in Hawaii. It was about something that I talked about yesterday, but his video got a lot of traction when he was talking about Hawaii and how they hold up funds for other stuff as well. And there's some wild stories coming out of Hawaii. I saw an interview with a man talking about how he jumped in the water to save his life, and he they're in the water and they're concerned about drowning, but they're also like, they're not burning, but they're inhaling smoke, so they're like, are we going to die this way? And he says that he saw kids that went in the water that he didn't see come back up. So it's truly an enormous disaster going on there, and people are not happy about Biden and his um his reaction to all this. And so he's supposed to go there, I think Monday is what he announced. I guess you can bully a president to doing the right thing. It took a while, like with his grandchild. He finally acknowledged he had another grandchild that he had been ignoring. I'm sure they'll still be ignored, but at least he acknowledged they existed after a couple of years of berating him and getting a lot of media attention and stuff. But again, if Republicans can run some good races, there's no reason why Joe Biden shouldn't be able to be taken out. Someone on online was going back and forth with me, and they said Trump is the only person who can beat Biden. I think if Trump is the only person who can beat Biden, then we are in a big pickle. And I don't think that's true, and I don't think there's really evidence to really suggest that. But they just believed it so firmly, and the reason why we're going back and forth with that conversation is they're like, oh, they just want to indict Trump because they're scared of him. I'm like, or they want to face a person who has, because they thought they were trying to like stop him from being in the race at all. And I'm like, no, they're not trying to stop him from being in the race. They want him to be in the race and they want him to be the nominee. They just think that if everything is focused on the indictment, then they'll have a better shot at winning. So was it yesterday, the day before, we talked about that strategy, and I kind of dumped all my frustration on you guys in a big rant about it. But they had a pretty big plot. But I think there's some good candidates that can overcome Joe Biden, because his ever since Afghanistan, that mask of like sweet Joe Biden has just been pulled off. That's not how people see him. Um, the image of him, on vacation, another vacation with no comment as um all the stuff was going on is not going to be well for him. But if we can talk about other things like relitigating January 6th in 2020, then they'll have an excuse to talk about something else. So we have to figure out a way to drive the conversation, even though much of the media, mainstream media, is in lockstep with the Biden administration. Um, for example, he had a fact checker, was a Washington Post fact checker, who tweeted out today an article just talking about how Republicans have overhyped the Biden laptop, and it's like, you guys like didn't even want to acknowledge this thing was real. Biden kept saying he didn't have any business dealings with the son, didn't even talk to him about it, and that's not true. By the way, the House is trying to get some more records of some stuff that's unredacted because Joe Biden had like a alias that he would write under. So there's some more things, including like calls with the communications with the former Ukrainian president that only had like Hunter like tagged on, that they want that information as well. So there's more to come, more to look through, but they keep trying to ignore this stuff. So Glenn Klesser um had wrote an article, and he's like, new fact checker, how Republicans overhype the findings of their Hunter Biden probe. And so I took a screenshot of this old tweet from David Burge that said, journalism is about covering important stories with a pillow until they stop moving. Unfortunately, that's how a lot of this works nowadays. But I also want to talk about some discussions about body count that I keep seeing online, like on the Whatever podcast. If you're not familiar with that podcast, they talk about a lot on there. I see a lot of discussions on TikTok about it, and it's mostly a lot of women complaining about men and how they have standards as far as body count, and they're upset because guys will sleep around, and they don't want to be judged for them sleeping around. And I got a lot of thoughts about it, so we'll get we'll get into that. But before we jump into like the meat of the stories and stuff, I just want to encourage you guys to go to blackteennews.com, check out different content, articles, videos, etc. I did post an article, the one I've been talking about for a minute. If you haven't seen it, haven't gotten an email, which if you haven't gotten an email because you're not signed up for emails, go ahead and just go to the website and sign up for emails. But I wrote an article about the Trump impeachment, what they impeached him on, what was their reasoning back in the day, and their reasoning for back in the day. If that was good enough back then, I don't see how you can't make the argument that there's not evidence, or looking like there's evidence to impeach Biden on with similar thinking. And to me, it always seemed like they impeached Trump for poking the bear as far as like looking into Biden's shady business dealings. Even despite the fact that there was merit to those suspicions, or like, oh shoot, he's asking the wrong questions. And as Joe Biden would say, you have ask the right questions, as in don't ask questions about me, just look at Trump. Like, I'm invisible here. Fact checkers should only be working during the Trump administration, and they should only be dunking on Republicans, and they don't have to really put in the work for one of the most notorious liars in politics. So I laid out the article. It's about I don't know, somewhere between 1,400 and 1,500 words or something. So it's kind of, it's not super long, but it's a, decent size. So but it's got a lot of links, a lot of good information in it. So take the time and read it, and when you have some time. Um, Also check out different merch on the website as well that we have, like the um, "You Are Not That Special." We also have that in a cute little mug as well. Um, well, we're going to be talking about drugs today a little bit and the condition of San Francisco. So we do have this Make Crack Whack Again shirt. We do also have like the Black Tea mug and other stuff as well. And if you like to support blacktnews.com, you like the kind of articles I do, you like broadcasts like this, want to help and expand, etc., go to blacktnews.com/donate and support there. Whether it's a gift of $10 or 25, 50 more, I appreciate all that you guys do and your support. You guys can also do super chats. You guys can also do stars if you're watching on Facebook. And thank you guys for watching live, and thank you guys for watching it back later. We are creeping on 80,000. We are very close on YouTube, so thank you guys for all your support. And we're very close to 100K on TikTok as well. They had shadow banned my account for like 2 years, and it's still pretty, like, I think, restricted, but they did allow me to finally like go to the For You page finally. So you guys know that I had like a video that reached like 4 million views the other day about like the writer strike and Rachel Ziegler and Disney and stuff. But out of all the things I make, I made some bangers that went viral. So I really expected to reach it. I guess maybe sometime last year I thought it would have already been 100K. So I'm glad that I'm finally crawling up there. I actually started like other TikTok pages because that one was like just so restricted. But and at one point in time I was like mass reported, and it was like gone for a little bit. But it's been back for it was only gone for like maybe a day or something, but it definitely restricted me a lot. But glad that I'm creeping up there. So thank you guys for following and encouraging other people to do the same. Last thing I want to mention is that the Brighter Mission PAC is hosting Tucker Carlson. And I will have a special code for my followers if you want to get a deal on any tickets to see him. So I think I should have that tomorrow. So that's something I'll be putting on social media. That's something I'll email out and continuously keep talking about it and sharing videos and stuff. Brighter Mission PAC, we want to do good work in Michigan and get good Republicans elected. So if you can support in that way, you could always just go support Brighter Mission PAC. But if you'd like to see Tucker Carlson, if you're in the area, you want to travel, there are hotel blocks and stuff available. So it should be a really fun night. I'll be there as well. So there's also like musical guests. We're honoring local people who serve the community, and there's like a scholarship thing. So if you can come, it'll be an amazing night. So very excited about it. So I'll let you know when I have that code ready for you guys. Okay. Sorry for the long intro. I know I already talked about or touched on some topics that I'm gonna reach on, but I do have a funny video for you guys. As I keep saying, people are not happy about Joe Biden and the $700 thing.
Wait a minute, what's this? This ain't enough. Make it enough. Damn.
So that is from the scene Friday, I believe. I've actually never seen Friday, but I'm pretty sure that's from Friday. I mean, I've seen like snippets of Friday, but I've never sat down and watched it. But yeah, people are not okay with the amount of relief that has been given, like the one-time $700 payment. And he's being roasted from all sides with that, especially because there's aid that we give to all kinds of different places, and there's military funding that we send to so many different places, particularly Ukraine. This Hawaii relief has just been a disaster on all sides. But I'm gonna show you guys a video that a legislator had put out a few days ago, talking about relief and the politics that they play with it.
On my way to the Hawaii State Capitol this morning, but hey, I wanted to come on briefly and talk about some of the issues happening nationally and how the federal government is going to help out with the relief in Maui. Some folks may not know that FEMA, the Federal Disaster Emergency Management Agency, is basically running broke. They are out of money. So Congress is trying to get FEMA more money. So Biden's administration, just a couple days ago, requested that Congress provide FEMA with $12 billion to extend the relief for Maui. But attached to that supplemental relief was $24.1 billion for Ukraine. Now guys, once again, why couldn't the Biden administration specifically ask for money just for Maui's disaster? But instead he tied $24 billion for Ukraine. Once again, Maui, just $12 billion. Ukraine, $24 billion attached to that, which means if you don't vote for this supplemental request, then you are denying Maui $12 billion. He is holding Hawaii hostage. He is holding FEMA hostage. He is holding congressmen and senators who don't want to give $24 billion of our taxpayer dollars more to Ukraine. And if they don't vote for this, they'll make like, oh, these guys just don't care about Maui. They don't care about Hawaii. This is ridiculous. Biden should be ashamed of himself, and any politician here in Hawaii who supports this administration and the corruption and just the sidelining that they're doing should be ashamed of themselves. Maui needs help. America needs to come through for our 50th state. And $24 billion for Ukraine should not be attached to our supplemental requests. Click on this link right here, because Civil Beat did report on this morning. And there are both Republicans and Democrats who are asking for Congress to give FEMA more money. But why attach $24 billion for Ukraine to it? That's just ridiculous. Just some morning thoughts, guys. Have a great day and God bless. Aloha.
So, and then they're also going the route of, oh, this is happening because of climate change, which in California, they also talked about like the wildfires and climate change, when the truth is that, I mean, there's still like people looking into stuff to Hawaii, but there's some articles out talking about how there's money being spent in like renewables and other places that could be going and should be going to preserving and cleaning out like brush and other things that could catch on fire and cause mass fires. So it's easy to say, oh, it's hot outside, things are on fire. It's also very possible to look and say, are there some other things that maybe that you could have done to prevent things like this? So even like the warning alarms not really going off, people are like, I could have used that warning. So it's just a top down mess. And praying for the people of Hawaii that they get the help that they need, but comfort for those who've lost loved ones. I'm not sure what the count is right now, but it's more than 100. So really, really devastating. I mean, one of the most beautiful places in the world, and it looks like post-apocalyptic right now. So and allegedly there's people wanting them to sell their land. There's stories about people wanting them to sell their land and to turn it to basically like a smart city, and people didn't really want to because they've had homes and stuff that were there for generations, like really old churches and other stuff like that, and now it's a lot of rubble. So I told you guys there's a rabbit hole. I haven't completed my rabbit hole. I'll tell you what I think after my rabbit hole journey. Yeah, just awful stuff. Speaking of awful stuff, in San Francisco, they are telling people to work from home because it is so dangerous. It is dangerous, and there's drugs everywhere. And I saw somebody talking about how recently they had a bottle thrown at them and stuff, but it's just not a good climate near a federal building. So it was that bad kind of in that area. Can you imagine where it is for other people everywhere else? Yeah, so it's just a mess. So this is from SF Gate. Workers in San Francisco's Nancy Pelosi's federal building told to stay home due to crime. Um, Workers in Nancy Pelosi's federal building in San Francisco were told to work from home indefinitely given conditions in the downtown area. The building at the intersection of 7th and Mission Streets is home to the office of former Speaker Nancy Pelosi, as well as the local branches of several federal agencies, including the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, the U.S. Department of Labor, and the U.S. Department of Transportation. The area around the building has also become a notorious hotspot for open air drug dealing. So, what about these people who need like business done at these particular buildings? They have to tell the workers that it's best for them to stay home. Gosh, it's so wild. According to the San Francisco Chronicle, building workers received a memo penned by Cheryl Campbell, an assistant secretary with the Department of Health and Human Services, on August 4th. It advised workers to stay home for the foreseeable future because of crime in the area. The Chronicle and SF Gate are both owned by Hertz, but have separate newsrooms. In light of the conditions of the federal building, we recommend employees maximize the use of telework for the foreseeable future, Campbell wrote in a memo. According to the Chronicle, Campbell also wrote that the recommendation should be extended to the building employees who do not currently use work from home options. As San Francisco fentanyl crisis continues to worsen, city officials are ramping up efforts to crack down on drug dealing, including the formation of a joint task force comprising officials from San Francisco Police Department, the California Highway Patrol, and California National Guard. Those efforts have yielded mixed results. The memo sent to employees in Nancy Pelosi Federal Building just came a day after San Francisco District Attorney Brooke Jenkins blamed local judges for exacerbating the city's drug crisis by releasing people accused of offenses before they can go to trial. The district attorney's office did not rely on SF Gate to request for comment on the memo in the time of publication. The decree also came the same day as the Biden administration urged members of the cabinet to aggressively execute plans for all federal employees to spend more time working in the office this fall. Axios reported in the email sent to cabinet officials, White House Chief of Staff Jeff Zients said in-person work is critical to the administration's goals. Yeah, I'm sure it is, but gosh, to have to go and can you imagine how bad it is? Maybe some of you are from California, or I know sometimes people jump in who are from California. And I'm always like, God bless your heart, man. Pray protection over you. There's people all over the place where they're concerned to go to work because of the conditions, because of people who come in and steal, and you're not supposed to do anything, or they know that if they do something, the people will just be back on the streets. As we look towards the fall and with the end of the COVID-19 public health emergency, your agencies will be implementing increases in the amount of in-person work for your team. The email read, according to Axios, this priority of the president, and I'm looking for each of you to aggressively execute the shift in September and October. The news that federal officials told employees in San Francisco to stay home comes as city officials are attempting to quell concerns about crime in San Francisco, struggling downtown after the pandemic. The city's office vacancy rate hit an all-time high earlier this year as San Francisco continues to grapple with the pandemic-induced exodus of its tech-heavy workforce and high-profile business departures, including the closure of the downtown Whole Foods and Westfield's abandonment of the San Francisco Center, which has given rise to a narrative that says the city is permanently altered. Mayor London Breed, who can face a bruising re-election campaign next year, has increasingly become a vocal champion of San Francisco after spending years as one of the fiercest critics. Earlier this month, she cited an increasing demand for the office space and rising employment numbers as proof that the city is bouncing back. Yeah, it's not, and it won't unless they get some of the crime under control. Um, it won't unless they can do something about that. Because people aren't going to want to open up businesses or bring business there when they have to worry about their employees. If this is something that federal employees are really, really concerned about, to have to tell them to work from home, you're not going to be able to salvage that for big tech companies and other folks, because they'll definitely just try to work from home. So no point of having like a super expensive building if you're just gonna make everybody work from home. But it's better for people to be in the work, and depending on what you do. But some people need that energy, need to be watched over, all kinds of different stuff. Some people need to get away from like distractions at home and to be focused in an office. So it's probably good that they want them to go back to the office, but they can if it's that dangerous. And they need to ask themselves why it's so dangerous, what kind of policies have led to it, and what can they do, like being harder on crime and repealing some of these dumb laws that just basically let people back onto the streets. They need to be tougher on this stuff if they want to restore some kind of law and order, or people will continue having an exodus, not just from San Francisco, but from California altogether. And many people have. Which was also a destination place, beautiful place, and now people can't go to those certain places and rent a car without them saying, no, you need insurance. And people have to roll down their windows and open their car trunks to show criminals that there's nothing inside. If you leave your car unattended like for 5 minutes, it'll be broken into and someone will steal your stuff. By the way, there's a video that went viral of like a thief who broke into a car, and there was some kind of flash grenade or something, and it like frightened the criminal and stuff. Booby traps are illegal, though I don't blame them. I saw it because there were some young lawyers on TikTok who were reacting to it, and so I guess essentially they just feel like any kind of unintended consequence or accidental, injury or whatever that could happen from a booby trap isn't worth the preventative measure of the crime, I suppose. But I understand, but just FYI, you can't put, they I don't think there was any kind of legal repercussions for the person who set the booby trap, but there was like a statement released by the authorities. They're just like, FYI, this is not legal. But people should not have to feel like they have to do that. People should not. And there's stealing cars, breaking into cars and stuff. That's a really bad thing that you see a lot in California, but it's also been bad in Michigan. It's been bad definitely in DC, definitely in DC, in other places as well. So stay safe out there. And if you can carry, I suggest to carry, keep yourself safe. If you can. Moving on, before I get to this whatever podcast, because we're probably going to spend a minute talking about it. The Republican debate is very soon, and it looks like Trump is still not going to be a part of it, isn't going to sign the pledge. The pledge is kind of dumb. We've talked about that, because even if someone everybody should have the goal of taking out Joe Biden, if you're going to be the Republican nominee, right? But or be a Republican, and obviously, even though you might not agree with everybody on the stage, best case scenario is still for Joe Biden not to be president at the beginning of 2025, right? So the issue though is that if you sign the pledge, how are they going to hold someone accountable if they just break their word? So it's I don't know, the pledging fealty or whatever. It just doesn't make sense if they're like, let's say if Trump goes ahead and signs it and he just, isn't the nominee, is just like, screw it, I'm not supporting Ron, or I'm not supporting Chris Christie. Chris Christie's not going to get it. But, what if he's just like, I don't want to do it? What is the RNC going to do? What are they going to do? So I said what would be smarter would be to say, like, if you want to participate, you have to donate X amount of dollars, and that will go into the nominee's campaign. I think that's the best way to do it. There's state parties that do like similar things. for like lieutenant governor races. Like they started doing that in Michigan. So, and it helps to like weed out people who aren't serious, and it helps to weed out people who can't raise money. All these people should be able to basically, like, if I said it was like $250,000 or something to, part of the pledge. And you can say that's pay for play. No, I don't think so. I mean, it is a party debate. The RNC can't set their kind of rules. They'd have to meet together and they'd have to get their, committee people to sign on to that, just like they did that in state parties decided certain things. And I don't know what's in their bylaws, if that could fly or not, but to me that just makes more sense because again, you could always decide to not pledge your support and then you could decide to go campaign for the enemy. You can do that, but your money will still be there. Your money will still be there in helping hire like campaign staff and get mailers and door knockers and all that stuff. So, to me, that makes a lot more sense. But something that's interesting though is that apparently Fox News is still preparing to have Trump surrogates like in the spin room. So if he doesn't show up and you have surrogates in the spin room, what sense does that make? Because he's still being rewarded for not showing up. I mean, it's pretty much a reward for him not showing up anyway. I mean, because let's say he doesn't show up and he gets the nomination. What is RNC going to do? Not support the nominee? They're going to support whoever is the nominee. So him not showing up keeps him from being attacked on. I mean, they'll probably attack him, but it looks worse if he's on a stage with everybody's younger than him, and if he can't like do the jabs like he wants to, and you can say, oh well, he would just crush him if he was there. If he felt there was nothing to lose, he would just go and dunk on them. There's definitely something for him to lose if he goes there and he doesn't do well. And he had good quips and really insulting comments and stuff when he did 2016 debates, 2015 debates, whenever they started. But his debate with Biden, at least that first one, that was painful to watch for both of them. It was just old men screaming at each other, and I didn't think either of them, like, people were kind of like watching the debate like, oh, we deserve better. America deserves better. But then the Mike Pence Kamala debate happened and people didn't really talk about the issues much. They mostly talked about the fly that got into Mike Pence's hair. And I was like, I was wrong. Americans don't deserve better. We don't deserve better. Which I thought Mike Pence like just slammed her in that debate. But people, which I think people could kind of acknowledge, because the articles surrounding it were like Kamala Harris couldn't really go at him because of the stigma on Black women and their attitudes and stuff. So there's all this kind of spin, but and a lot of commentary about the fly in his hair. So I don't think if everybody came decided to gang up on him, that it would maybe be to his benefit. I think it would be in the benefit of the voters, though. I in 2018, people were, I'm sorry, in 2022, when people decided not to show up for debates, that was something that people heavily criticized. Like, people were mad at Katie Hobbs or trashing her because she wouldn't show up to debate Carrie Lake. And I think Carrie Lake would have just probably like destroyed her, demolished her. And it's something that Carrie Lake could have really benefited her. But she didn't show up, and people were ragging on, Fetterman. Like, is he going to show up? Is he going to show up? Can he do a debate? And you know what? He showed up for the debate, and it was awful for him and awful for people watching. And he's still in the Senate, because they just dislike, people on the right that much. Though Oz was a terrible candidate for lots of different reasons. And that was someone else that Trump pushed, didn't work out. But I don't know. I think I'm not surprised he's not going to show up, or if he doesn't, I'd be surprised if he did show up. I don't predict that he will show up. But if he's not going to show up, they should not have his surrogates there to be like, oh, DeSantis was dumb tonight. This thing DeSantis said didn't make sense. Oh, Vivek didn't, say Jack Diddley Squad and Mike Pence is trash. Like, they won't say it in that kind of language, but they should not reward Trump for not showing up for their debate. So I guess at the end of the day, Fox News is going to be the ones who will decide who is in their spin room or not. But I'm assuming the RNC has some kind of wiggle room with those kind of demands. But for the people asking, like, well, why would the RNC allow Trump to get away with that? Trump did like stomp for Rana to be the reelected as the chair of the RNC, and people within the know that. So, just because he won't sign the pledge and isn't beholden to them doesn't mean that they're not in some regards still beholden to him. So I just expect it to be a bit unfair, so just thought that was an interesting piece of information to share with you guys. Okay, so let's talk about this body count thing. So on this podcast, whatever, it's called Whatever Podcast. It's very popular, and they'll have these girls from, OnlyFans or college or whatever, find them on Instagram and other dating sites and ask them, do they want to come on? And they'll, chit chat about, it's a dating show, but they do talk about politics and other stuff sometimes. Like the Whatever Podcast hosted Destiny and Trent Horn, and they gave it was a great discussion about abortion, and Trent Horn was just so impressive. I really, really enjoyed that conversation as opposed to another one that was on the show. So they've had Michael Knowles on there with all the girls. They've had Lila Rose on the show with all the girls. And so, it's interesting to see their commentary. I don't understand. I don't know how many people who watch the entire thing all the time. I think most people kind of see clips here or there. I think the most of an episode that I've seen, I've watched the long form debates, but, I saw like most of the episode, I think, with Michael Knowles, but they'll run like 3-4 hours conversations, and people will collect the juicy bits and clips and they'll put it all over. Now, I have people have criticized the show because they get these girls, and some of them are in college and some of them have degrees and other stuff like that. They're not all like dumb or anything like that, but they'll say some things that are pretty off the wall. And it's, you have these pretty girls, they end up looking bad a lot of the time, and then it goes viral, and then people talk about, oh, these dumb girls. And Freedom Tunes has such a good video, a good parody video on this topic, and maybe I'll find it and share it at their just go check it out yourself. But their Freedom Tunes rendition of the Whatever Podcast, it just hits the nail on the head, because it makes you feel bad for how people just kind of diss these girls, but then it also highlights the ridiculous standards and stuff that they have. So just a little background on the show itself. But they've had many conversations about body count, and it's not just them. If you go on TikTok, you'll see a lot of conversations or scrolling through, people will be debating body count and why it matters or why it shouldn't matter, and etc. Most of the time, people who are saying it shouldn't matter are women, and it's guys who are saying that it does matter. And there's always a double standard with it, and some girls complaining about there being a double standard. And so I'm going to show you a snippet of one episode that someone clipped together, and then I'm going to play a bit of this particular episode. This episode. These are two different episodes I'm about to show you.
Your women had a body count like yours, or was...
I wouldn't have dated her in the first place.
What if you didn't?
You wouldn't date her in the first place.
She would never have come on my radar in the first place.
What did they...
No, I'm serious. Like,
No equal standards here.
Seriously. No, the reality isn't equal.
Perfect.
You can, okay. Tell me how many 18-year-old men are getting invited onto yachts and are invited to the club's tables and shit. 0 of them, but it's full of pretty young girls. That shit ain't fair either. So the moment you start fixing that, cool, then I'll take that comment seriously. But until then, it doesn't make sense.
So they have a lot of conversations on that show about like men and women and their, I guess, their sexual currency, and when like women can, they blossom younger, and as he said, like how many young boys are on. Yeah, someone actually in the chat was like, comments was like, Kevin Spacey has entered the chat, which is but I got the joke at least. And but you don't see young men, being the boy toys, or of young successful women or older women, kind of coming on there to hang out, and not in the way that you see like young girls being like doted on by older men and other stuff like that, and being able to or younger men, they just have more currency as far as what they can demand with their sexuality at a younger age. And guys, it just kind of takes a minute for them to get their stuff together, and you don't know if a man is going to be fine until they like 30. Like some of them bloom a little early, but don't count a man out until they hit 30. There's something about that 30 when it's like the flower has bloomed, like and especially like I feel like a white guy, you can't tell until they're like about 30 years old or something, and it's like, weren't you like a totally different looking person at 29? What happened? You just hit that magic number. But I think there is a double standard. Everyone is acknowledging there's a double standard, but some people think it's unfair. So I'm going to play a bit of this conversation. Hopefully I'm not flagged, but it is what it is. And so this is from an episode of the Whatever podcast. This is clipped out on their clips thing.
Value is fully defined with their body count. But with that said, I do think a man is entitled to have a preference.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with that. Men are entitled to have their preferences. But with that being said, someone who does have a high body count is then no longer worthy of love.
Carson, can you just close the door? Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's fine to have a preference. I don't care what other people's preferences are, but I think just move on to another girl then. There are girls with low body counts if you want them. It's not like they're scarce. Like it's possible.
It's pretty scarce, but it's pretty scarce, but go ahead.
You could have your own opinion, but I don't think I would date a guy who would want me to have a low body count.
Okay,
if that's his what's the word, like I must have like a low body count for him to like date me, something like that.
Okay, Natasha?
I would respect if a guy wanted a low body count, because I also feel that way towards guys. Like there's a certain threshold that they can have to the point where I'm like, maybe I shouldn't be with this person.
Okay, so before me and John come in, most of you said body count shouldn't matter, doesn't matter, whatever. So if body count doesn't matter, if it shouldn't matter, what is your body count? Natasha, we'll start with you.
Wait, you just asked my body count?
Yeah.
I would rather not say.
You've shared it before.
Yeah, but I realized I don't really want to say it again.
Natasha, you're killing me. All right, Cynthia?
I would prefer not to say.
I also prefer not to say.
Just out of respect for my family.
For the family. Who's the gangster who's going to actually come in and share? Go ahead.
It's not good. You gotta say, out of respect for my family, I won't share. That's not a good sign.
Yeah, I would rather not say.
Obviously, I'm not gonna say.
One girl starts off with domino effect. Go ahead.
Good.
I won't say. I'm sorry.
I prefer not to say.
Okay, so you refuse to share, yet you think body count doesn't matter. Thus,
because if I say, I'm gonna be judged.
Thus, hold on.
No
stop.
matter what number.
Stop interrupting. Somewhere.
Martin super chatted 50.
Martin, stop interrupting.
Ladies, this is hurting my brain. Studies have empirically shown that women with higher body counts are far more likely to divorce. The same is not true for men. It's biology. You release oxytocin during.
during relations, that's the pair bonding hormone. So some deep down, even though you guys say body count doesn't matter, your refusal to share it would indicate to me that it matters. You know it matters, and that's why you refuse to share it.
It doesn't matter to me, but it matters to you guys. So I'm not going to go and put myself out here and say my body count just for you two to ridicule me or say something.
We're not gonna ridicule
This guy
you.
has been saying stuff the whole time. I
don't need your body count to
called
ridicule
him.
you.
I said he's insecure, and he proceeded to call me a and
Hey,
insult
look,
me.
we've moved on from that.
Let it go. Let it
Just-
go. It's
I haven't.
over.
He hasn't apologized.
Can I say something? I'm not ashamed of my body count, quote unquote. And if like my potential partner is interested in knowing, I'm not fearful of sharing that with them. But if these people don't need to know, so it's like,
yeah.
it's none
But
of their
if it didn't matter, then you would just be like, oh, here's my body count.
to
Like,
my
boom, boom.
partner, yes.
Well, no, just outwardly,
general, he's
but
just
you
saying in general.
acknowledge that it is something that maybe not all men, but that some men do care about, and it is also some women would judge you for it too.
True. Yes. That's
Actually, when women have a disagreement with each other, often the first insult that they hurl at the other,
Yeah.
that chick's a slut. That's the first thing they go to, because so women will shame women on it too. So
I'd like to back up what she's saying. I feel like a discussion of
Right.
your body count is a discussion for somebody that you're comfortable with and that you're sleeping with. I'm not sleeping with anybody here, so I'm not going to answer that because I feel like things should be kept private. And you should be, I don't know, like, Brian, are you going to share your body count? Is he going
Well,
to share his body count?
so-
Why are we only getting asked for our body count?
well, I can't speak for John. Me personally, I think body count matters, so I'm not going to share my body count because I think it matters. But John, I don't know if you want to share yours.
Do you guys really want to know?
If he shares it, will y'all share it?
No.
One for one?
One for one?
No.
How about you? Since you two have been flirting with each other all night, I'm thinking if he says it, you say it. How about that? Gentleman's agreement.
Fine.
Oh, okay. There we go. John, go ahead.
Ladies first.
11.
Really? Only 11? Really?
Do you think I ran through?
No, I'm just, sounds low. Mine's like 250.
250.
So body count matters to you when it comes to a woman.
Yes.
So, but it's okay for you to have a high body count.
Yeah, kind of like it doesn't, you don't
Then
care.
your opinion is bullshit.
No. Because it's the same thing
Double
for you.
standards.
Same
There's
thing
all
I'm
for
not
you.
kinds
gonna
of-
listen to double standards.
Because you
can
wouldn't
stop.
date a guy shorter than you.
Yeah, but body count. Come on. Anybody
Okay,
can lie about that.
same thing.
Guy can't lie about his height.
Yeah, that's well they're gonna explain more. So he's gonna say that he like went to therapy and other stuff, but it's 250. That is gross. That is gross. That's disgusting. Gosh. So they're gonna continue on the conversation. We're gonna watch some more, but piggybacking off of that, what we've heard so far, and that other little clip that I played where the guy was like, yeah, I can have a high body count, mine doesn't matter, but a woman's matter or whatever, and life isn't fair, we don't care. I totally get and I understand that people have preferences. I definitely have a preference. I don't want someone with a high body count. I'm not saying that if you have a past and I don't know, you've been redeemed and came to Christ and had a revelation and all that stuff, that there's not a chance, but definitely would prefer that to not be a thing for my partner. And so I can understand men wanting women who haven't slept around and even having a double standard on it, because even though you've done a bad thing yourself doesn't mean that you don't want someone who has done a good thing or what they consider to be a good thing. However, for these guys who say that they wouldn't date a woman with a high body count, and that or they wouldn't even date really, but but they definitely don't want to marry, do anything long term with a woman who has a high body count. It means that these men will make you. They will make these women who are run through, but they don't want to have anything long term with them. So these women who complain about it and say, "Oh, how dare you," etc., blah blah blah. You are the one who's driving the conversation and the narrative, right? Because you know how they are. At the end of the day, they don't value you long term. So don't allow these men, especially as they're younger, they're trying to figure themselves out. Maybe you're trying to figure yourself out, but you're a lot hotter than they are, and you can, you have your pick of the litter, I suppose. And these guys will take it where they can get it or whatever, and you're having fun, they're having fun, but eventually they're going to grow up and they're going to be like, I don't want the kind of girl that I had in the past. I want someone who's, has a low body count, maybe is a virgin, who's going to be nurturing, kind, compassionate, etc., blah blah blah. And they're thinking about someone they're going to raise a family with, and someone who, if they have daughters, who they're going to want to instill particular values within their daughters. They're not thinking about the women they used up along the way. So they'll make these women, but they don't want to value these women long term. So that's gross and that's bad for these guys. But ladies, don't let these men do that to you. It makes no sense going on TikTok and YouTube and Twitch and all these places complaining about what men are doing. They're not going to change. Instead of the sexual revolution and feminism and women trying to be like, oh, we should be able to be players like the men. No, you should have demanded better from the men instead of diverting down to that particular level, because they're still how they are, and they're just gonna use you up and then find someone else who isn't the way that you are and had different values and different morals and did things differently. Or they'll try to anyway, or they'll find a girl who maybe lied about it or something. So you cannot like the game that men are playing. I get it, but if you don't like it, don't participate. Don't participate. You stop whining. They're not going to change their mind on this and be like, you know what? You're totally correct, because they know that it's not good for men and women to have high body count, which he's going to say. He's going to say that. So they're not going to be gunning for women who have a high body count, even though his number is 250. That's crazy. That's really high. And there's dudes with higher ones. But oh my gosh. Like I think that's gross. But ladies, if you want better for yourself, then just demand it. They can't sleep around with these girls if there's girls who won't sleep around with them. Demand that they take accountability. Demand that they put a ring on it or whatever. But if you want to have your fun, like one of these girls was like, I wouldn't date someone who wanted me to have a low body count. Okay. Good luck with that. Because you want to act a particular way and you want to be loose. Don't be surprised when all you got is loose dudes who will be with you. But if they have a change of heart, they get a little older, they start thinking about like, you know what? I want to lay down some roots. I want my legacy to go on. I want a family. And I don't want to continue a relationship with a girl who thinks that she should just have a really high body count, because they start to think like, are they going to be loyal long term? What kind of values are they going to instill within my daughters? Nothing will civilize a man like a child. Now it doesn't work all the time, mind you. but having a family, creating a family civilizes a lot of people. And I'm not saying you can't civilize, women who go up there and are only on OnlyFans and all that kind of stuff. But man, that's kind of stuff being out there, that makes people uncomfortable. Like they don't want to see their body counts. And I think the privacy, like it's, like maybe they wouldn't mind telling a partner, but they don't want to tell the whole entire internet. And they're saying, oh, well, if it didn't matter, you would just say it. Like I see both sides. Like I kind of get their point, but no, there's some things that maybe don't bother you, but you don't, there's no point in putting it out there to be like internet cannon fodder, So I understand them still not wanting to say that. So I don't think that was a great point from the guys there. But some of them, they know there's some shame attached to that. Like one of them said, for my family, I don't want to say, so they do care. They care what the public thinks. And I think a little bit of shame is healthy. I think a society that is super hyper promiscuous isn't good for society for a ton of different reasons. I talk about abortion a lot on the show. That's one of the things that I feel is a symptom of this sort of society for sure. If I you're like, well, birth control can fail. Like everyone is aware of that. Like, I'm like, well, you could always try abstinence. They're like, that's impossible. It's literally impossible. People told me it's literally impossible. Let's continue watching and finish this out.
You're completely missing the point.
So would you be offended if a woman didn't want to be with you? Your ideal woman didn't want to be with you because of your body count?
No, I mean, if she
Your ideal 10 out of 10 Victoria's Secret model.
So, okay, so let's say my ideal woman, 10 out of 10, does reject me because I have a high body count. What can I do?
Nothing. It's done.
So then you just ask me a question just to like.
But like, would you be like offended by that?
If my ideal woman walked away from me, yes, I would be offended.
So that means that body count does matter.
I just don't understand why it matters. Why you can have a high body count, but God forbid the woman that you're seeing has a high body count.
Well, let me finish.
There's a lot of differences. Go ahead.
Yeah,
what are the differences, men and women?
Well, let him address.
Difference.
Hold on. Let him
Do you think
address
that,
her
like,
question.
affects, like how like the quality of a relationship you can provide her?
Yeah, for sure.
That your body count does?
On her end, yeah, things will come up.
On her end?
If she has a high body count, yeah, it's like
no,
statistically.
like if she doesn't and you do you think that like?
So
should she believe you won't give her a good quality relationship?
She could believe that if she wants to, but I'll demonstrate. I demonstrate in my day-to-day life. Like I've got my shit together. I've got my shit together at a very high level. So I can operate and manage a relationship, no problem.
I know what all that means. Maybe it means like giving her stuff, gifts and whatnot. I whatever issues that he might have for the woman that might come up with her having a high body count are things that I'm sure that would also apply to him. Men and women are different, so it's not going to be the same. But he does mention he's went to therapy. So if he's had like some revelations about how his life and he has kind of a different mindset, it doesn't sound like totally. But I don't know what all kind of revelations and things that he's fixed within himself, but I want to say I would think that's kind of cap. But and some of these guys who come on the show and are just like, I'm a high value man, I can make all this money and all this stuff like that. No, I wouldn't take a woman with a low body count. Yes, mine is like astronomically high, but my woman, she knows that I'm with her, and then I got all this money and I can take care of her. There's more to it than I don't know, stability and other things like that. You want an emotionally stable partner who's going to be loyal and not have a baby mama drama and all that kind of stuff. Just because you're rich don't mean we want ghetto kind of problems. With the baby mama drama stuff. So I think that's a little cap what he's saying, but we'll keep listening.
But what I'm trying to say is that if you look at the empirical data, it does show that high body count negatively affects women way more than it negatively affects men. However, it does negatively affect men. However, the threshold is far higher for men, way higher. But it also lowers relationship satisfaction in men, marriage satisfaction in men, marriage happiness as well. High body count's not good for men or women, but men have a way higher threshold than women.
Infidelity too
Infidelity
is
as
a
well.
higher likelihood for both men and women.
Yeah.
If the body count is higher.
Yeah.
And they've done studies on it. So
I can see the point of like why someone would be concerned if they're like dating someone with a high body count, this and that, but it doesn't mean like this person who has a high body count isn't going to settle down and be like the correct partner for somebody.
No, yeah, but I agree. But also, I will say that I've gone through a lot of therapy and gone through a lot of self work, a lot, because the high body count and people going out there participating in this like casual hookup culture, this stuff, that's typically a symptom of something deeper going on inside of that person, and it's just being acted out. You know what I mean? In a form of like sexual expression. Other people may choose gambling. Other people may choose drugs, food. You know, being addicted to social media, but it's usually due to some unresolved trauma they're carrying around with them.
And you mentioned that just because someone was promiscuous in the past or they have a high body count, but something in psychology, the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. And this is no less true in the realm of sexual behavior. So a really strong predictor of marital infidelity is one's number of premarital sexual partners. Also, higher chance of STD, higher chance of reporting relationship dissatisfaction, higher chance of infidelity, or I already said that, or infidelity.
Women who sleep around more have less orgasms, have less fulfilling relationships. I mean, there's a book that just came out last year. It's really good. It's called The Molecule of More. And it's talk about dopamine, and they talk about this in depth. Some great studies.
Word. I think you wanted to come in on something.
I forgot.
Okay.
I forgot.
So you were talking a bit about the double standard, right?
So that's basically it. So, and I think that's correct about the different psychological things that might be happening when you're someone who's super loose. Bridget Fedesi, who used to write for Playboy, she has a great article. We read it once on the show, and I've referenced it a few times. I referenced it actually in my book, actually. It's called like Why I Regret Being a Slut. And if you haven't read it, it's on her Substack, and it's really, really good. And she talked about how she had this man-eater persona that she created, and but she was trying to fulfill a hole, no pun intended. That's what she said. I feel like I keep making references now. I wasn't trying to quote Michael Scott there, but that's what she literally said in her article, that she was trying to fulfill like a hole inside of her, with all these, different emotional kind of hookups that she had. And she, convinced herself that, to really settle down would be weakness, that love was weakness. And, just throughout time, she realized how much of a mistake that she was making and how she just kind of been sold a bill of goods. And there was a book that she had read about the feminist movement and how it sold basically a bunch of lies to women. And she said after reading that, like she was like the case study for that book. So that gave her enough courage to put out her article. So she says there's women out there that, she knows that are pretty confident, and that she would assume maybe have all the same kind of issues that she had. But the way that she was living her life with this persona as I'm just a tough girl, I can do all this stuff and sleep around. She really made herself, if she really thought about it, feel worthless. And I just don't understand why. I'm like, ladies, don't do this. There's so many issues that come with being entangled with a guy who especially isn't someone worth being with long term. And that's another reason why a lot of women will go ahead and have abortions and stuff too. Like my sister told me a story about a woman recently um who she found out she was pregnant, she was going to keep the baby, and then she found out that she had like some beef or issues with her ex, and so she's mad at him and didn't want to be tied to him, so she decided she's going to have an abortion. Everybody tried to talk her out of it, her mom and other people, my sister and stuff, and so she just decided to go ahead and have it, and she did get like the pills or whatever, and didn't work. And so she told my sister recently that she was still pregnant. So, but much wish my sister like joined hands with my aunt and like really prayed for that baby. So, mercy on that baby's life. And but everyone's like, it'll be a mistake if you do it. But that's one of the many reasons that women will do it, because they don't want to be tied to that individual. And I get it, but if that's someone that you can't see, like worst case scenario that you may end up making a baby because you have sex procreation and you're like, oh crap, I do not want to be tied to this person for 18 years or more or forever. Maybe that's not a person worth engaging with in that sort of manner at all. And I've just seen too many situations with young women in bad like domestic situations and just drama with this baby mama, that baby mama, and just girls chasing after guys who don't really love them. And I just pause and stop and just ask yourself, does this person really care about me? And you could say, well, that shouldn't matter. You should just be able to have fun or whatever. One day you're going to wake up and realize that it wasn't fun or wasn't worth it. That casual kind of giving yourself away. My sister talked about one time she was on YouTube, not YouTube, on a Facebook on a thread, and a girl had asked like, do you regret the time you lost your virginity? And man, there were so many like sad stories, and so many women just voicing regrets about what they did and if they could have just taken it back. And but he is correct that there's as far as like data and indicators of your marital relationship and how it will work out, and infidelity and other things. The less sexual partners that you have just like one or two or none or whatever pre-marriage, you're likely to have a good marriage, and with a good sex life too. I mean, if you don't sleep around with a lot of people, you don't have a lot of people to compare it to too, So people talk about how high the divorce rate and stuff is. Not for virgins or near virgins who get married. So and maybe there's a lot to go along with that. Like whatever discipline that they have and carried over that maybe got them to not being promiscuous or sleeping around and stuff, they carry into the marriage itself. And I definitely don't understand women who cheat with a dude, and then they get with that dude, and then they're surprised when that man cheat. If someone is willing to sin with you, they will sin against you. Just keep that in mind. So gosh, just ladies, stop complaining about the body count thing, because guys don't care. They will keep that standard, and they don't mind making you a run through woman. They don't mind doing that, but they will find someone else, and you can say it's not fair. That they'll keep operating that way. If you want them to have a better standard, they're not gonna match what you're complaining about. You have to drive them to be better. And women can drive men to be better, but they don't have to be in this climate. We've made terrible mistakes. But crying about it's not going to solve anything. Anyway, thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation, enjoyed the show. I know there's people from all over watching. Someone from Twitch, if they're still here, was in the Netherlands. Hello there. someone had like a request about something. If you have like any like business inquiries or I don't know, sponsorship opportunities or speaking engagements or anything like that you want to ask about, you guys can go to the website, fill out the contact form, and I will get back with you. So that's the best way to reach out that way. You know, sometimes people reach out on Instagram. I don't check my Instagram a lot. Just FYI, you're more likely to get me at a tweet or something. But you just shoot me an email. I fill out the contact form and stuff on the website. Please go to blacktnews.com. Check out different content on my website, different articles, different videos. I mentioned earlier, I dropped an article today about Joe Biden and his corruption and his stuff with ties with his son, and looking back at the Trump impeachment, the first one anyway, and what they got him on, and the reasoning they had got him on, why they decided to impeach him for abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. Obstruction of Congress is so dumb. But they could definitely impeach Biden. They could definitely impeach Biden if they want to. Excuse me, if they want to go that route. I know McCarthy talked about doing an impeachment inquiry. McConnell isn't too into the idea. Now they don't have the votes to like really get him kicked out. I mean, the Democrats would have to be like, all is lost, I think, to try to get rid of him in that sort of way. But before it got that intense, like let's say the corruption was just so blatant or whatever, and they were really concerned about it, the election possibilities, that old man would just say, I'm sick and I gotta step down. Like I'm a little out of it and I can't continue on. And Kamala would just be the president for a little while, and maybe they would run her, and then it would be like an apocalypse. But for them, but it's not too early. It's not too late for them right now to have other contenders jump in the race, like Gavin Newsom or Gretchen Whitmer, which she has a pack that she's like, it's like a Fight Like Heck pack, and they're raising a bunch of money and stuff. So I have no doubt that she has Washington aspirations, and I'm not surprised. And I warned you guys that if she won by a lot, then you'd probably see her on a national stage. But everybody's kind of like looking at Biden. They don't feel that they have to make any kind of moves because for sure they think Trump's going to be the nominee, and they think he's going to be just like so jammed up with indictments that they're not going to be able to run a campaign. It's going to basically destroy the Republican Party. So I'm pretty sure that is the plan of the Democrats, and it's not a bad plan. It's a very corrupt and messed up plan, but it's not a bad plan. So they don't need to force Biden out. So I don't foresee him actually being like convicted in the Senate or whatever in the impeachment. But they should totally could go ahead and do an impeachment inquiry with the stuff that they have as they continue looking through it. But that's an article I dropped today. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation to blacktnews.com/donate. Cost of streaming on my website. So if you guys can support, God bless you. Thank you. Whether it's a gift of $10 or $20, $50 or more. Thank you guys for watching live. Thank you for those who watch it back. I know Ava there in the chat works. At least she said in the chat. So thank you for popping on when you can, and for you guys who have conversations in the chat. I see you. I know I don't react the entire time to your comments, but I'm trying to kind of not lose my place. I don't have a Joe Rogan has a Jamie to like, be like the side person. It's just me here. But hopefully we'll keep expanding with stuff, and Black Tea will be like a huge operation one day. But thank you guys, and I will see you tomorrow.